Hey, hello, Happy New Year. This is the Ultimate Ladybug course video number 26, and we are pretty much done with all the analysis tools. And now we look at the end of the tool set, the extras, the bonus basically. Some of the tools we already used, and some of them will be new, but they are just an addition to the core functionality of a Ladybug. Let's jump right in. All right, so in order to follow along, you just need a ground plane and an object. And some of the studies we previously did, for example, in the last video, the incident radiation study, or the real-time version of that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go back to my latest video, the previous video, and build a simple model and you can follow along. Now, what do you need for that? You need a weather data, you need the cumulative sky matrix. In that case, we need it twice. For the real-time incident radiation study, we need the incident radiation study and the real-time incident radiation tool, and then we need a spatial heat map, and we moved the geometry, the final colored mesh to see it better. So that's basic setup. You can use any of the other studies we did, for example the sun hour study, but I think that's a good one too. Or for example the UTCI study, the comfort, the universal thermal climate index, that was a good one. So you could use any of these studies to follow along this video. Now, some of the things, as I said, some of the tools we already used, but we can go through everything again. Okay, first up here is the Ladybug Color Range. The Ladybug Color Range is nothing more than a list of numbers which defines a range of colors. Now, for what is that good? Well, for example, if we have a legend parameters, let's use the legend parameters. We can use the legend parameters in here in the spatial heat map or in the incident radiation map, because the incident radiation map creates its own spatial heat map. We did this spatial heat map because we used the real-time incident radiation. All right, but we can use it either here or here. Now let's use it here, and now it's recalculating. So anyway, I'm not sure why the legend parameters are not on top of the list, but this is actually where you can adjust a lot of things, and one of it is the colors. So you could put the colors here, and basically the current color set is the same. The color set in here is the same as we already had, but you can change your colors within that list. You can set your own colors, or you choose the index of what kind of color you want to use. You can either put here a number in the set data item, for example 0. Now 0 is the same as we had before, or we can set 1, then you see it has changed now. And in the index you can actually see what are they used for, these color ranges. For example, 2 is multicolored ladybug, 3 is EcoTect, which was an older plugin it was an older standalone software for doing similar studies. Then Autodesk bought it and was integrated into Autodesk. But yeah, you have cold sensation benefit, shade benefit, and so on. A lot of different types you can check out. You could, for example, let's do the last one here, 29. It's very similar to the original one. I don't know why it's getting red here. Oops. You can also put just a slider with numbers from 0 to 30, or 0 to 25, 29, I guess, 29. Don't know why it doesn't take 29 as a number, but yeah, you can see quite different color schemes in here. And you can make up your own color schemes if you want, because you can actually just place you can create a color range, and then you put this in here. And the numbers you can see in this list are the RGB values. Red, green, and blue. Clear? I hope it's clear. All right. What else is in here? Generate grid point. We have used it quite a lot. This you need when you do, for example, the UTCI, outdoor comfort study, because we always need to create a location where we test our temperature, for example, or the perceived temperature. That you can do with the grid Ladybug Generate GridPoint. It's actually a very important tool because you can also use it in other applications, Honeybee for example. But it just creates basically just a grid of points. We have done that already before, so I will not show it again. What else is in here? Ladybug preview visualization set. Let's get this here. This is also very interesting because it helps to make whatever the output is more palatable for RHINO. So you can see it adds here at the legend, it adds like lines. And if we wouldn't see this, let's turn this off. I don't know if we can move this now. Let's not have this, and let's hide everything. This is a bit annoying, I know, but yeah. But yeah, it adds lines to everything. It makes everything look a bit better for later on. And again, you can add here variables, script variables for your visuals and so on. I don't know exactly how that works, but you can also read through the stuff here. So that is placed in here, or for example, it's supposed to be here as well. Interesting. It's not. It seems like it's only in here. Now, okay. What else? I just want to show you here in the legend parameters. We haven't really went through this a lot, but what we can do here is we can set a minimum and maximum. That is to control what we see on screen in terms of the minimum and maximum. So for example, now we want to see everything from 0 to 1813, and we could set 0. In that case, we don't need to set 0, but for temperatures, when you have like minus degrees, then that is very handy because you can set a lower, like a minimum below 0. And let's say, for example, it doesn't go ever colder than minus 20 degrees in a certain region. Or I want to compare the colors. I want to see but I need to understand what is the overall, what is a certain situation looking in the color range compared to another situation. Because if, for example, if I change my slider here, if I change the day, it will have a different maximum. So that means I can set, because it only gives you the maximum of that particular study. Now the minimum and maximum helps to unify different scenarios. What I mean by that is the maximum helps to set a specific maximum where all studies will use. So the colors will be always accordance to a certain temperature. So for example, if in here we study the kilowatt hours per square meter, it's 1813 kilowatt hours per square meter. Now I can put this in here and say, okay, let's say my maximum is 2000. That's my maximum. Now it sets everything to a maximum. That helps me to compare with other studies, because then I know green is 1000, blue is 400, and another study might not have even 1000, or might is just in this range. But that means in that study, in the other study, it only goes to 800, but my maximum for the whole year is 2000, for example. In that case, it's easy for kilowatt hours per square meter. I don't need a minimum because minimum is 0. It's a given. I can also put a segment count. That means I can put the amount of segments in here. So at the moment is 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. But you can set any other amount of segments. You can set numbers of decimal places. So this is basically just a note here to say there's more or there's higher values. So let's for example take the Boolean toggle, and we can place this in here, larger, smaller, and if it's true, it says everything is basically, there's nothing bigger than 2. It's basically saying red means everything from 2000 and above, and the same for the 0. Everything from 0 to minus whatever. You can set the location as either vertical or horizontal. So you could set it like this. If we look at top, we can set the base plane. Basically, it's just the location of that bar. For example, we can place it here. And funny thing is, it sets it in the other direction. Interestingly, the width, you can set a different width segment. Sorry, a certain width for each segment. You can change the text height and the font and so on. So you get it. You can basically really hone into how this thing will look like. I go back here. I was very happy with that already. And I also understand now why the base point is on the right side, because usually it would be horizontal, vertical, and then of course it's better if this is. I cannot move this, can I? Oh, yeah, no, it worked. Now I understand why, of course, the base point is here, because normally it would be on the right side. All right, so I think that's pretty straightforward, and like you can see with and without the visual set. So that would be without, and that's with. That makes it slightly better. What else do we have here? Spatial heat map. That's this tool here we already looked at. Can be used for all kinds of things, by the way. A Ladybug false start toggle. That's interesting. I sometimes don't use it. It messes up stuff. This basically automatically goes to false, which helps if you have very heavy calculations. This automatically sets it to false, so it doesn't start right away when you open the script. I'm not sure if it's always worked really, but yeah, it's a cool tool. And then we have here the mesh threshold selector that allows us to select a certain portion of this. Basically works as you can select a portion of your output. So for example, I can take here the values again, and the mesh, or I think you can take it from here. You can choose here in the operator, you can choose, for example, everything greater than, or everything equal to, greater or equal, less or equal, or equals this and this and this. So if we, for example, set here equal, oops, that was wrong. Yes, you need to set it with the star. So star, and then greater than, less than, greater or equal, less or equal, equals, and does not equal. And then you can set a number. Let's try this here. Wait, sorry, this is not how I want this to be. Now you can see the areas selected. Let's choose something else. The thing is, you need to make it visible, and that makes your mesh visible. And then you could go here through and select 20%, everything larger than 20% of that, of your kilowatt hours result. Interesting tool. A tool never used is the Ladybug sort by layers. Actually, this is a really interesting tool. If you have a very neat organization, then you can just dump all your objects in here and then divide them by layers. So I have one object here, another one here. That's actually really good. But yeah, you could here place now these two objects, and I can now select by layers. So you can see that in here, one object's in here and the other one is in that list. So it's basically creates two lists with either this or that. You can then select, for example, by list item. Where is it? List item. Now it worked. I had to flatten it. So I have two lists, and I can either choose one or the other. So for example, you have all your ground level stuff in one layer, and you have all your buildings in one layer, and you are much better organized than I am in my file. Then this is actually a really cool tool to speed up your workflow. Ladybug Capture View. Okay, we kind of finished this one. There's a bit more about views and legends, and so we'll have a look at this one. This is all about output, how to output images. Ladybug Capture View. So we can set here a file name, panel 01. We can set the folder. That's my folder. We can select the viewport, and And it's also specified through a name, so you can go here and say, let's say this is a new view I want to test. A new view I want to test. Let's move the mesh so it looks interesting. Move. And you can set here the set unit, but you can also just set a coordinates. It's the same. You could set here 0, 0, 1. X, Y, Z value. It's the same as setting the Z direction. And I could generate a new view and say this is a new view. Oh, maybe let's choose one of these we already made. Aerial 2. No. Aerial view 4. Aerial 5. Nah. Okay. Let's create a new one. Output 0, 1. Now I can choose output 0, 1 and it will give me the image according to the camera. You can set the width and the height, the mode. That's pretty cool. You can set it transparent as a PNG. You can make everything which is not geometry, just transparent. And you can capture. Let's try that. So for example, if I should actually capture this now as it is. Okay. Transparent. If I don't set anything here, I guess it will be whatever is the current mode. And I can set true, Boolean value, Boolean toggle, capture, and set true. Now it's supposed to be here. Yes, it's here. If I open this, yes. So it's funny, it actually puts semi-transparent objects as semi-transparent. The background is not transparent. It's because in that mode you actually have a ground plane, but you see how that works. Pretty straightforward. Now there's another way you can output images very easily by saying view capture to file or view capture to clipboard. I normally use these. View capture to clipboard, and you can set the resolution. You can set the multiplier to the resolution. That's very handy. Normally I use this, especially if I want to have an image where I want to sketch over. And you can also choose. So basically Grasshopper is accessing that view capture to clipboard. You can also use view capture to file directly, and that will write a file. The clipboard will just clipboard, which you can then copy into your software, your image manipulation software. And that answers the question for one of the questions I saw last time. Somebody asked me how can we export images, or how can we get images out from this Grasshopper tools. Okay, it's basically whatever Rhino can do, you can do within Grasshopper. Ladybug Orient Cameras. Now this is pretty interesting. It says here, orient a series of geometries to the active viewport camera. Now for what do we need this? Okay, for example, I have this view and my legend, my legend is shown like this. I can take my legend and place it basically according to the camera. And again, you can use a different origin point. Let's go back here. And you can of course set the size here again. The legend, I think that there's a second tool we can use. Refresh. Again, we need to have a Boolean toggle here. By the way, Boolean toggle just here. I don't have to always type it in if it's already on the window. So if I move around, I can refresh this, and it's always aligned with your view. Pretty good, pretty awesome. Now the problem is you see now is that now I have two. So if I use this one, the optimized version of my legend and so on with lines and so on, then this tool doesn't work, and I cannot put this in here. So of course you can rotate all kinds of things with this. The only problem I see is that there is no way to apply the visual set here, which is a bit annoying. I mean, this is what I would expect, no? But it's one way to rotate things. You can also rotate, of course, the entire... I mean, you could rotate other things. You could rotate your whole model to the camera and then apply a spatial heat map and everything. So that also works, of course. So you could rotate your mesh first, right? So you could do this. I think it's not 100% thought through. So let's get this back. The 2D legend parameters. So the 2D legend parameters are actually part of this set, which is the preview visualization set. That is then you can bake and it will look exactly on how it's shown here. But you can be more specific with your legend. So you can place this in here, and that gives you, it's basically places your legend always to the screen. So it will not change the position of this at all. It will just, wherever you rotate to, you also have your legend. So that's pretty interesting. We already looked at orientation to your camera, whatever you can do. I mean, there's loads of things you can rotate to your camera if you want. So that also is quite nice. You can still change the origin, also where in the screen it should be, segment height, segment width, text height, and so on. So you can really dial into this, just into the legend. Okay. And then the last one, that's a bit different for this tool. The last tool in the list, Ladybug Set View. That's very useful if you want to look at your model from the direction of the sunlight, from your sun direction, to determine where it's shade, where it's full sunlight, and so on, during which during which time of the day. We need a direction and position. So the best way to do this is to get the sun path, Ladybug sun path, put the location, and then we just need the position. Oh, sorry. One more thing. Now you can see that our sun path diagram is placed here. Now, in order to make this useful, we actually need to push that to a different point. So we can set here the center point, and let's choose this point here. Now, the center point is exactly here, the courtyard. Now, if I now place here my sun point currently is set here very low. This is the sun point, I think. So what we need to do is we need to place a slider so we can go through different hours of the day. And I just put here 24. No, 24. So it goes from 0 to 24. And you can see that the sun goes, how the sun moves here. This is basically the hour 0 to 24 is the 1st of January. Today, 1st of January to the 2nd of January. And I left in here, I left it as a float point number because it's much smoother. It actually allows me to go through the different minutes. So I can divide an hour even further. So it's not just based on the hour. It's the hours of the year can be a float number. That's very handy when you want to animate. So, and now you could place here vectors. This is the direction. Direction is the vector from the sunlight to the center point. It opens a new window automatically. So I can change this again back to what I had before, and the position, sun point position. Yeah. But now with my slider, I could set the same time as last time and animate not just the incident radiation, but also the location of the sunlight, or the direction of the sunlight looking at the model. Pretty cool. You can also change here other things, like, not sure why it shows orange, by the way. Oh yeah, because it's in the night, it doesn't actually have any vector. But you can set the lens length here. You can set the mode, your viewport mode, and you can change here the output of your window, I think. You can just test it yourself. And this is the name of the viewport. So if you wanna copy that or reuse that later, you can then, I don't know, save it otherwise. So these extras are really useful to speed up your process, to make it visually exciting for any presentation. You saw that you can output stuff very easily. You can set specific views. You can change the orientation of your legend. You can change orientation of objects within your model. Yeah, and quite exciting. I'm looking forward to the next video where we look at all the other stuff. See you in the next video. Ciao.